Okay, so what's up? Welcome. It's your favorite couple,
How are you?
Sonny and Cher.
Except your shirt.
Yep.
Walking in Memphis. Do it.
Do you believe in life after love? I can hear something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough. No.
It's pretty good.
I know it's good. I'm a damn diva. I've been saying for years I'm a diva. Do you expect the diva to have a bad Cher impression?
Nope.
Of course not. What's up? Tonight we are kicking off the dystopian chronological series. Welcome to the dystopia. You are now, if you didn't know, in the dystopia. Mm-hmm. Hence me singing Cher really loud. This is a sign of the end.
We're
Literally, it's an apocalyptic sign.
A quarter into the dystopia, according to this master list we made. Now that's what I call dystopia. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know, the movies have a rough timeline. We got this from that meme that was going around some months ago that listed right where we are in the Hollywood dystopian chronological timeline.
Right now we're somewhere between The Island and Soylent Green on the timeline.
And I think that's true. So we were so startled by that meme that we decided it would be a good topic for a series. And as you know, we've just done our Alien series. We just did, what was the last movie series we did?
We did serial killers.
Oh yeah, serial killer movies. We did Aliens.
Yeah.
Something else.
Yeah, we did something recently.
We did rom-coms. We did rom-coms.
Pod People.
Yes, Mutant, Alien, Invasion, Pod People, Snatcher. That was fun. Mm-hmm. So it kicks off with, of course, by the way, I'm Jay Dyer of Jay's Analysis. This is Jamie of Jamie. She just is. And we were just over there, over on your boy Tristan, aka Little AIDS of Stream, talking about the unified goober theory of Jeff Goldblum. And he has a unified Gruber theory of sex-induced nanoparticles by which the chaos mathematician proves that he's right on everything. So if you've not seen it, go watch that stream. Can I send you a background? I don't know what that means. No, you can't have my library background. It's trademarked. You're not saying anything. Where are you at?
I was thinking of that picture of Jeff Goldblum holding a little velociraptor in his arms.
I'm always thinking of that picture. There's literally the only image in my head, even if I'm talking about theology, is Jeff Goldblum.
Holding a little dinosaur baby?
It's basically anything,
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum. So.
There's no...
That's the sound that the little Jeff Goldblum fly. He doesn't go bzzz, he goes... Brundlefly.
Remember him in...
Brundlefly was spitting some fly game at Laura Dern, dude. He was using that Chaos Mathematics PUA. Did you know Roos based his PUA on Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park? Chaos Math.
I thought it was the fly he based it on.
Did you not see the scene where he hits on her?
Yeah.
Okay. And the drop of water?
Yeah.
That's some advanced mathematical game right there. That's some game theory. Boom! Game theory! That's right. That was the perfect joke. Dangerfield had the perfect joke. He called it Jeff Goldcoon.
Oh.
The drop of water.
Yep.
We're going to talk about a fun list of movies. Actually, they're not very fun. They're dystopias, but we're going to make the dystopia fun now that we all live in the dystopia. So the movies are now reality. And that was the whole premise of Jay's analysis for so long. And now here we are. You now live in a Hollywood dystopia. Not just one, you live in all of them. They're all combining into like the final boss of dystopias.
Yeah. I can't wait till we get up to like Idiocracy too. And
what's that, like the year 2300 or something?
this list goes from 1980 all the way to the year 800,000.
701 with Time
Yeah.
Machine. Yeah.
And who knows what year THX 1138 is supposed to be.
And I forgot that Dune was the year 10191. The year of Padishah Emperor shot on the fall 1091. 10191. Father! The sleeper has awakened! The sleeper has awakened!
Well,
That's when Cher awakens the sleeper.
that's the very end. So we're gonna
I know, we got a long way to go.
starting in
The Drogues. Got a little Drogues in the 1980.
A Clockwork Orange.
I think Anthony Burgess was a little off with this one. Although, I don't know, maybe he's not. Maybe 1980 really was already dystopian.
Well, the movie was made in 1971
Right.
and set in 1980.
Right.
So not a big leap in imagination for Anthony Burgess. And what starts out with them, the Droogs.
Right, so Alex has a gang. Alex's gang is a bunch of damn hoodlums, a bunch of damn ruffians.
Yeah. I noticed this milk bar that they're at, it's using the naked women for furniture. And they're...
Well, and it's interesting, too, that it's a milk bar. So is milk now kind of edgy? It's banned,
Well,
right?
it's-
Vegan? We're in a vegan world,
It's
maybe?
Milk Plus. Did you know? Have you ever looked into what he's saying is in the Milk Plus? What is the plus of Milk Plus?
No, I don't know this. I've not read the book.
So it says Milk Plus Veloset or Synthamesc or Drencrom.
So it's basically Bill Gates' milk. Right?
Well-
GMO milk.
Drencrom is very close to adrenochrome, but then there's like Synthmesc, which could be like mescaline or like...
Oh, so you get a buzz from it and you get adrenochrome.
Yeah. And
Wow, I
Veloset,
didn't know
I
that.
don't know what that means. I had
Like
to
a
look
probably
it
like
up.
a Percocet, like a...
Oh, okay.
So the milk bar is just
Drugs.
drugs.
Like legalized drugs.
Pharmaceutical titty milk.
Yes.
Right.
That comes out of the
You're
statue.
sucking from the teat of big pharma. You are.
Yeah.
That's what it is. What?
That's so true. Yeah. So they are drinking their Milk Plus and getting ready for debauchery. Right?
Right.
And
Now, you watched this more recently than I have. Now, I did an analysis of it in book 2. So, Jamie, it's fresh. It's fresher like the milk bar on Jamie's
it's freshly
mind.
squeezed into my head. Clockwork Orange.
Yes, but I'm going to have to, let me pull out my analysis here. Go ahead.
So they go on their nightly robbery spree, beating
Just
frenzy.
a bunch of damn ne'er-do-wells.
Yes, hooligans.
Yes.
And he hates drunks for some reason. Maybe maybe his parents drink too much.
Maybe he had a drunk parent, yeah.
Yeah. So they come upon a drunkard and they rough him up for fun. And then they come upon a rival gang. So there's these gangs that fight each other.
Droogs A and Droogs B.
Yeah. And they're raping a girl in a theater. And they fight, and the girl gets away. So they continue to cruise around, terrorizing.
Little of the old ultra-violence.
And yeah, his
Little of the old in-out. Mm-hmm. A little savage bit of the old in-out.
his slang is really bad.
Well, the slang is part of the story because the language has been so degenerated that it's almost like another language. That's part of the point of Burgess's Dystopia.
They're very crass. They wear big, long pee-pee noses when they're...
Yeah, they wear their underwear and yeah, it's kind of...
and they have body parts glued to their outfit. There's like eyeballs on his wrist. So it's a really weird costume. And they come upon this house and they get in somehow by trickery.
Okay, I don't remember. Yeah, they tell them that they need to... I forget why they come in.
Or they're like, we had an accident. We need to use your phone or whatever. She lets them in. And
is this the old guy or the woman?
This is the writer. So he'll come back up at the end of the movie.
The professor. Mm-hmm. Author, yeah.
And there's like this contrast between how sophisticated him and his wife are. They have a nice house. They have modern art. They have all the like top of the line. Mm-hmm. He's very well read. He's an artist, writer, whatever. She looks nice and fit. And then here come these hooligans busting in, this youth, right?
Right.
And just wreck everything.
Right, so it's just general chaos.
Yeah.
Right. Well, he represents a primal kind of untamed, savage humanity.
Yes, and something that's easily manipulated, we'll find out also.
Right, and that's where the Ludovico method is going to come in as an attempt to rid mankind of his biological drives and impulses. Mm-hmm. To civilize him, right? Mm-hmm. And we'll find out that this is more or less a kind of operant conditioning Pavlovian / MK Ultra program.
Mm-hmm. So, do you notice his neighborhood and his apartment building where he lives is real dumpy? Like, it's the trashiest neighborhood for no reason.
Well, he's low class.
Yeah.
Right.
Their public art is defaced down in the lobby, and it's just like a dump, basically. Mm-hmm. But his culture comes from Beethoven. He really loves Beethoven.
Yeah, there's a weird element that he has this appreciation kind of randomly for Beethoven's, ninth? Mm-hmm. And so he'll retreat to his room and listen to this because it's so, I guess... so foreign to the world that he inhabits and what he does on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. And the bedroom scene is interesting because there's an obsession, not just with that, but also there's inexplicably elements of religious devotion there. So Alex has a serpent, a naked woman, 4 Jesus statues, clumsily kind of rammed together. And this is it's almost like his kind of crude religious altar. Mm-hmm. So he'll retreat to this weird mix of things, a snake in a drawer.
He puts the snake on the altar.
Yeah. And then he plays Beethoven. So it's very bizarre. We don't really know, but it seems to be a kind of a weird, almost satanic devotion that he has. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Yeah, and his parents are working class. And their taste is ridiculous. I don't know if they're trying to say that this generation is tacky or...
His parents?
Yeah. So his mom wears these ridiculous wigs and their wallpaper and their furnishings, and it's just over-the-top, ridiculous, cartoon-like.
Yeah. I think the point is that their class of people in that generation is completely brainwashed. Mm-hmm. And so they're just totally apathetic. They have no interest or care or concern for their son, what he's up to, what's going on. They just sit and watch TV all day, which was a pretty powerful dystopian prediction of the power of TV and the influence of television, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So he fakes sick so he doesn't have to go to school, and he gets a visit from this guy. And you told me, I didn't catch how he was related to the family.
He's not related. He's a CPS worker.
Okay, so he just randomly...
And he molests them.
Right. So, in that scene...
The government social worker obviously molests him.
Okay, that scene was the most uncomfortable, almost, that I've seen in a long time. And then he drinks the denture water. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that? It was just, oh.
No.
Oh.
I forgot that part. I mean, it's been,
so
you've seen it more recently than
me,
but I just remember the sequence of the implied. But remember, this is something that's in all the Kubrick films, is the PEDO element, right? Mm-hmm. Eyes Wide Shut, Lolita, mm-hmm. Barry Lyndon, mm-hmm. Danny in The Shining.
Eyes Wide Shut.
I just said Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, yeah.
And Clockwork Orange has the PEDO element too, right here.
Yeah.
So basically, it's presenting a satanic Luciferian society, right? I mean, that's the thing here, is that it's not just a dystopia. I think there's a clear message of living in a satanic aeon. Go ahead.
I just noticed there are no good adults in his life.
No.
We'll find.
Right. So the previous generation is the one that had been destroyed. And that's why they have this total dystopia. Mm-hmm. And we find out who's really running things is actually a scientific dictatorship. That's the crazy part.
Mm-hmm. So, he goes to the record store, and there's a little Easter egg. It's a 2001 soundtrack vinyl at the record store.
Right.
So he picks up... some girls, and they go back to his place, and there's a Beethoven scene again.
Well, they have an ORGY, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's off to do
Now, is this the scene with the snake? Because
No.
they have the sexual...
No, it's the scene where it's all sped up to the...
Yeah,
da-da-da-da-da-da.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Like the Benny Hill, like...
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
I know, that's the mark. That's the horse march, but...
Yeah.
Whenever I think of British things going in fast forward, it's Benny Hill.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just that fat Benny Hill guy chasing a girl's butt to pinch it.
They should have used that in the movie instead of Beethoven.
And then the other competitor to that is the Six Flags. That stupid ass old man.
I hate that guy.
Everybody hates that. Is there anybody that actually likes that old Six Flags, the old man dancing? Whoever thought that up, I want to interview that person on the podcast and be like, why did you think that a young person wearing an obviously ridiculous fake old man mask would be a good mascot for Six Flags? It doesn't even make any sense. Old people don't like roller coasters. Is that why it's funny? Like, oh, look, this old man likes roller coasters. Ha ha. It's funny because he's old and he's dancing to shitty techno.
It's really disturbing.
It's just...
It's like...
It's dystopian. It should be in this.
It's like the opposite of Baby Genius, where the babies could talk and do adult things.
Anyway, I've never actually been to Six Flags, so I can't speak to it. Maybe it's all old people at Six Flags. Maybe they all love it. It's all senior citizens at Six Flags. They just love it.
Yeah.
There was a point I wanted to make about the Droogs. So if you notice that the parents were brainwashed by TV. Clearly, they just sit and watch TV. They're totally obsessed with this stupid consumerism and game shows or whatever nonsense is on TV. And then make the connection there, right, to when Alex is in the clinic, and how do they principally re-pattern and re-imprint him? TV.
The viddies, or what does he call them?
Something like that.
I viddied it.
Viddied, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys will know the slang in the chat, but yeah, exactly.
So then he goes to that weird yoga cat lady with the nude art and the big giant penis statue. You remember that part?
Large phalli.
Yeah.
That's plural fallacy.
It's the Woodmere Hell Farm. I mean, Kubrick has such a knack for creating these, like, scenes that are so...
What do you call it when you make an illogical penis joke? A fallacy. Boom! I just made that up on the spot right here. Where's the super chat? No super chats? I just gave you all the best joke to tell at the water cooler tomorrow at work.
That joke deserved a little super
And nobody's even giving a super chat yet. You're getting free, literal comedy writing here. And the boomers say that it's too juvenile. They don't like it. Well, we'll see about that tomorrow around the water cooler when all the boomers are telling my jokes at the water cooler.
A logical fallacy.
All right, anyway, where are we at?
He kills her with the giant fallacy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Kubrick does like to pair up sex and violence.
Well, there's something weird going on at this Woodmere Health Farm. So not even like a yoga health retreat place.
Is this the woman's house?
Yeah, they're doing something kinky there.
Does it say it's yoga?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, she's like doing yoga when he.
So it's almost like door. Right. So it's like, I mean, yoga hadn't even hit the scene yet.
Right, and they call it the Woodmere Health Farm. So, and she's like a weird cat lady with all of these naked paintings everywhere.
Right. So the whole of the aesthetic of the whole society is
pornographic.
Pornographic.
Sorry.
And yet at the same time, it's like it's wrong for Alex to be acting like an animal when the whole society raises people like animals, right? Mm-hmm. And so I like that contradictory element because that's how the world is, right? We're just saturated in a totally prawn culture, and then at the same time there's these elements of just hyper contradiction, right? At an extreme level. Right, mm-hmm. Which is precisely, I think, the root of the dystopia is that it's just at every level it's contradictory. Mm-hmm. The whole society becomes dissociative, becomes doublethink, and it's just a giant contradiction.
Yeah, well, even his conversion. So when he gets caught and goes to jail, they ask him what religion he is.
Oh, I forgot about the jail scene.
And he says Church of England, so they pair him with the Church of England preacher. He's like a fire and brimstone kind of pastor, right?
Yeah, he's got this kind of Calvinist, puritanical COE preacher.
And he's the preacher's Sunday helper, and he's like reading the Bible, but as he's reading the Bible, he's imagining himself as a Roman soldier. So he puts himself in the roles of the predators of the Bible. Right.
So the point here, I think, is that just this droog, right, trying to read and understand the Bible is kind of pointless, and all he does is use it as a way to interject himself into the story as this kind of villain, which is so. Just reading the Bible, in other words, the church has failed to reform man is the point, right? Because remember, it's a dystopian story, so mm-hmm. It's presenting all these failed attempts at how to fix things.
So he likes the violent and the tawdry parts of the Bible.
Yes. So his parents are total failures. This church, obviously, the Church of England is a total joke, total failure in reality, and accurately presented as a complete failure in the book. Mm-hmm. And so what's interesting is that the traditional elements of society have failed, and now we're going to move into the technocratic, scientific, pragmatic will to power attempt to completely a socially engineering change man.
Yeah, so he goes to this pastor and he says, "Can I talk to you privately?" And the pastor's like, "Oh, sure, my son." So there's another... The pastor immediately goes to, is it like a sensual conversation? And Alex is like, no, it's nothing like that. So the pastor was... It didn't explicitly say anything, but it was like implying that this is something the pastor likes to talk about with boys, or... It was just kind of creepy.
No, I think there was a creepy element to that, and of course, again, you know, the COE and these groups have been full of PEDOs for ages, so nothing surprising here. Roman Catholic Church, COE, yes, high level PEDOs for sure.
So he's like, "You could tell me about it, you know," and then Alex is like, "No, it's about this program that I heard if you go through it, you get out of jail quicker." And this is the Ludovico treatment, right? Yeah.
And I think this is just a stand-in for operant conditioning, Pavlov, Watson, all of these people who have a Skinner box. This is all people loosely connected to MK Ultra, because the same people studying and promoting MK Ultra via CIA, again, have correct connections to MIT, Rockefeller Foundation, who are behind people like Skinner, behind people like Alfred Kinsey. So the PEDO establishment and people like Kinsey's funded by the Rockefeller Foundation. This is all loosely in the circles of MK Ultra. So I read this as a complete 100% example of how the MK Ultra programs were being studied and being used for society as a whole. And that's the key insight that Kubrick's film presents, is that the whole point of the Ludovico treatment is how to change society.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that Alex is a sociopath because he just wants to be good, but he doesn't exactly know what that is because he doesn't really have a conscience. But he's kind of mimicking what other people are telling him is good so that he can get out of his unfortunate situation.
Alex is an animal who is like a test subject animal. Mm-hmm. So he's like a rat in the lab. Mm-hmm. He's like a mouse from Disneyland. He's a test subject. Mm-hmm. He's a chimp in the lab who is just led to the next phase. He just goes along with whatever those above him are using him for.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. They go and look at his cell, and it's the prawn and Jesus, just like his old bedroom. Mm-hmm. He's got the same setup in there. So.
Yeah, Skinner, Watson. It's basically MK Ultra, and what's interesting is that when they strap him down and they force him to watch all of these horrific scenes, it produces in him this catatonic state.
Mm-hmm. And the actors that are doing the reenactments of violence are dressed like him and his droogs. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And keep in mind, Burgess has another predictive dystopia story that was never made into a film called The Wanting Seed. And I will let you all look that up to see what that's about. And you can figure out how that is just as relevant to where we are today.
He calls his eyes, that famous scene where they're putting the eyedropper in?
Yeah.
He's like, "Me glassies." My glass balls.
Yeah. So the idea is to perfect man, right? And again, I have to stress how close this was to what the MK Ultra projects were really trying to do. I mean, it wasn't so much, as we said, about studying alternate personalities and trying to create assassins and this kind of stuff. That's part of it. Mm-hmm. So there is MK Naomi, there is MK Delta, there is MK Search, but really what this is about is mapping and having a totality picture of the human mind. And that's why we know about documentaries like Minds of Men, it shows the people from MK Ultra directly going into cybernetics. Mm-hmm. And so the goal was to create feedback loops. The goal was to master the human mind. The whole goal, Alex is the youth. He's the next generation who has been molested, who's been brainwashed, who's been abused,
neglected,
becomes a lab rat for the system. Mm-hmm. And he's oblivious. That's the amazing part, is that he never kind of figures out what's going on. And how applicable is this to the average normie? I mean, he's like the chav today, right? Think about the chav in the UK. I mean, Alex predicted the chav.
Yeah, he's just going through the motions of everything that society is telling him to do and enjoy, and this is what happens to him. So they condition him. Oh, they're using Beethoven as background music, so they didn't know that this was going to affect him. They just thought they were putting in the music in the background. And
no, I think they knew it was going to affect him because he liked it. So they intentionally chose what he liked to turn it into the thing that would cause him to get sick when he heard it. That's part of the mind control.
I thought there was a scene where they were surprised at that, but maybe you're right.
Well, I think the point is that, again, he is... The attempt is to root out of him anything that's perceived to be natural. And what's natural is his sort of rebellious, animalistic drives, which he's had basically rooted out of him. Mm-hmm. He's being domesticated. Mm-hmm. That's part of the story, is that the goal of the Royal Society, the goal of MK Ultra, was to domesticate man. So people who are the power structure that this film is representing, that the Burgess is representing, is the people like Huxley. It's the people like Julian Huxley, Bertrand Russell, and their whole plan was to do these kinds of projects to domesticate man. And again, look how predictive this was. The normalization of PEDO, right? That's in this film. The just total brutalization of the youth. The youth are just turned into animals, right? It's all here in this film. And again, I don't think it's that great of a film. It's a good movie in the sense of just what it's presenting and how it's made. It's very hard to watch. It's very brutal. It's not a pleasant experience, but at all. And it's not supposed to be. But the point
RAPE scenes and the fighting.
The point of it is that it's in terms of psychology, pharmacology, academia, psychiatry, medicine. This is the world that technocracy is going to create, and this is the world that we're in right now.
Yeah. So when he's cured, he gets sick at the violence and the nudity and the music. And they go in to showcase what they've done in front of the police and whoever is in on his rehabilitation. And his pastor's there. And they have a little fight because he's like, you've taken away his free will. And they're like...
That's Bertrand Russell.
Yeah.
Bertrand Russell says, we will stamp out man's will.
And he's like, we've made him a true Christian now. So
the Christianity that is the false presupposition of modern liberalism is the universal technocracy. It's a mutated, distorted Christianity that gives rise to this idea of the complete control and domestication of mankind.
Mm-hmm. And then when he goes home, he's been replaced. So not one adult in this whole thing has reacted in a good way. His parents now have rented his room to another dude.
Each strata of society is evil.
Yeah. So everyone
in other words,
him.
The adult generation is who produced his generation, and they're both the products of the social engineer technocrats. Mm-hmm. And they can't recognize it. How true is this for all of us? Do you hear this, guys? We live in this world now. The normies, the boomers, they don't recognize that this is the world where Kubrick is, just like Eyes Wide Shut, Kubrick's telling you that this is what reality is. We live in this world where the people around us don't recognize that the social engineers and technocrats have created the nonsense, stupid world that we live in. Mm-hmm. And the only reason that it continues is because most people can't understand that. Just like Alex just like his parents' generation.
Yeah.
Which is sad, but it is. It is what it is.
So
Boomer phrase, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
And by the way, yes, the symbolism of the poster in the film, the consistent all-seeing eye imagery of Alex is showing you that Alex is the product of this Luciferian satanic elite. That's who they want to create. This complete, controlled, domesticated, mind-controlled, brainwashed subject.
Mm-hmm. So his parents are not happy to see him, and they throw him out. And he's out on the street. It's sad because he actually thinks that he's reformed. He's like, I'm all better now, even though he's still a sociopath. And who does he run into when he's out on the street? But so the third act, he has to meet up with everybody that he wronged in the first act.
Mm-hmm.
So he meets the bums, and they beat him up, and then the cops are his old friends that he had feud with, and they rough him up, and then he ends up back at the house where the writer lived that he robbed.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Who exacts revenge on him. Yeah.
Yes, but that guy also has a political agenda, so they've been watching this in the news. That's another part of this, is that he's making the tabloids every time something happens because he's a young murderer.
Right.
And then he makes headlines for going into the Ludovico, and everyone's watching what happens to this young guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy that he wronged has him in his grips, and he tortures him, makes him throw himself out the window. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Then what?
I mean, I don't have a whole lot beyond just pointing out that he is the creation of the kind of society of a Saint Just, a Saint Simon Auguste Comte, the Illuminist tradition of socialism, communism, rationalism, scientism, all blended together in the product of what the CIA is giving us today with the MK Ultra pop culture. I mean, that is what, and the whole point of the milk bar stuff at the beginning is that he's also a product of the pop culture of his day.
Mm-hmm. Well, the last little twist was that the writer actually turned out to be a government subversive writer, and they put him away.
The professor guy?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't remember
so
this.
Alex lives after he jumps out the window, and he's laying there in the hospital bed, and the government guy's feeding him his meal.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, that writer man, we put him away because he's a subversive.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're going to do everything we can to make this right by you because they're really unpopular now in the press.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, they're going to give you a job, and we're going to make you happy. And so they just continue to use him as a propaganda pawn.
Yeah, he's just still just floating along, clueless as to what's
and
really
they're
going
literally
on.
hand feeding him at the end. Like, this is what you're going to do.
Yeah, and he's just going.
Yeah, more. Yeah. That's good. So Clockwork Orange, pretty good. Pretty not good also in some ways.
Well, it's predictive. It's relevant. Yeah. I mean,
it's hard to watch along the lines of like Holy Mountain. It's like uncomfortable.
Yeah, it is. That's a good analogy. Holy Mountain is a good analog to. Yeah. Hard to watch, but in a sense, I guess relevant. Mm-hmm. All right, next we come to probably the most well-known dystopia, 1984. And I have read the book more than once. We actually went back to this pretty recently. I had not seen the movie in many years, and so it was interesting to review the film. Obviously, the book is better, significantly better. A lot more nuance, a lot more insight, a lot more pointed critique of the dystopia in the book. And of course, as I'm sure everybody knows, Orwell, Eric Blair, was in contact with people like Aldous Huxley. He knew what these people were planning. The inner party is precisely the people that we're talking about, identified in this novel. The real Illuminate confirm is the people at the top of the Royal Society, the top of the British Empire, the banking elite, right? That's the inner party who wants to bring about this technocratic boot stamping on the human face for forever. So one of the most important, insightful books ever written. It didn't get everything right because obviously the dystopia would be more like Brave New World than it would 1984. But there's a lot of things in 1984 that are missing in Brave New World. So we don't have, for example, I mean, there's some indications of this, but it's much more pronounced in 1984, the FAKE news, right? Fake news, right? That's Winston's whole job, is to revise history, to rewrite history, to do this for the Ministry of Information, right? The Ministry of Truth. And in other words, the whole job is to lie. Everything in this dystopia is inverted. Everything is upside down. So I think that's the most powerful aspect of this, is that when it comes to media and when it comes to the lies of the dystopia that we're going into, this book, like none other, nailed it. And nobody would have ever guessed how powerful the deception, the inversion, and the lies could be. And yet here we are. It's in our face every day. So probably no more relevant book to the day than this book. Now, it didn't get, as I said, everything to do with top-down, this sort of open tyranny, in the sense of like, jackboot thugs busting in your door if you have wrongthink. Although we may get to that, right? But at least at the time that he's writing this, Ingsoc is English socialism. And so there's a definite attempt to kind of look to Sovietism, to look to Stalin. By the way, Bertrand Russell said the Soviet experiment was great. He loved it. David Rockefeller, Mao is great. Socialism's great. So the wealthiest people on the planet, as we say, always, they love socialism. Right? They're not at odds with communism, socialism. In fact, communism and socialism are the tools of the super elite. And that's a fundamental truth that you have to get through your head to understand how the world works. If you don't get that, you're always going to be confused. You're always going to be chasing your own tail. You're never going to figure out how the world really works. And another point that I was just getting at, of course, classic Alan Watt phrase that I give Alan Watt credit because he pointed out many, many years ago that,
Hi, folks. You're listening to Cutting Through the Matrix with Alan Watt. The big boys.
right, the big boys are master con men. If you don't understand the art of conology, and that the world is run by high-level con men, you're never going to figure out how the world really works. And that's a big part of this story, is Winston coming to the realization that, wait a minute, all of this that's been constructed, all of what Big Brother is, all of what's around us, all of what O'Brien is trying to hammer into everybody is intentionally a lie. It's not about the truth. In fact, it's about getting you to willfully accept the lie so that you become disempowered and disenfranchised, and you are an enemy against yourself. That's the great psychological warfare trick of Big Brother in 1984. And so, by the way, this is one of a very important book to read and to know when it comes to psychological warfare.
When was the book written, do you know?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember.
Oh. So
I can look.
This movie, 1984, is set in 1984. And
I think he wrote it in 1948.
Oh.
That's the point, right?
And
so he just flipped the numbers.
Oh. And it came out in 1984. So it's kind of a fun... And it's kind of just... It starts out with...
You know what? Let me go grab the book, because I actually have some really good notes in the book.
Okay.
Let me go grab it.
It starts out with a day in the life of Winston, who is just an every man in this machine. He's just a cog. He has his duty to do. He's surveilled every minute of the day. And his day starts out with like propaganda, us and them type films. And then they have this fake terrorist, right? Emmanuel Goldstein, they call him.
Yes, this is a very important point, right? The non-existent external threat that is just constantly created and made up. And the story changes every few days, right? So one week, Oceania can be at war with Eurasia, and the next week, Eurasia and Oceania were never at war, and we were always good friends. And so who is Goldstein? What is Goldstein? Well, we think, right, hello, Osama, right? We think it's. I mean, the parallels from the book to Bin Laden, I mean, are just obvious. Okay?
Or like, who was the other guy? Saddam Hussein.
Well, yeah, any of the so-called
the villain
villains,
of the
right?
week.
Right. Well, we put Saddam in, right? The CIA trained Saddam. He's installed by the U.S. as a puppet guy. Oh, and then right now he's our great enemy. We got to have Desert Storm or whatever. Yeah, I mean, but it's interesting because Saddam wasn't portrayed as Mr. Terror. Oh, but CIA trained Osama bin Laden is Mr. Terror, right? And yes, I think he was probably dead a long time ago. Even Cy Hirsch, right? The whole bin Laden story is fake. Well, guess what? Anybody who'd read 1984 would know that that's the whole point. Yes, the power structure runs and controls Mr. Terror, and he's not even real. The narrative is made up. It's a media narrative, you see. Anyway, go ahead.
What year was it written?
It's 48.
Oh, okay. Found it. So he works for the Ministry of Truth, changing the news from the past and deleting people from history.
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead. Correct. Yeah. So he's a revisionist. His job is to revise history, to make it. I love this. This one smells awesome. It's like a classic
Paperback. I like it.
bookstore paperback with that
Yeah.
smell, that unique smell.
Nice.
So he does propaganda. He does they do war films. They produce war films. He's already starting to notice too, by the way, early on that the stories about Goldstein don't make sense, and then he's tasked with like altering who the bad guys are, and it's like even people he knew. So he knows that it's not real, but he still does it anyway. And how applicable is this to the modern day blue checks?
Yeah.
This is what the blue check people
It's
do.
his
They're
job to make
they're
it up.
literally the blue check people.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
So then they also use child spies.
Oh, that's another interesting point. That was a Stalin trick. Well, actually, that goes back a long time. I mean, Queen Elizabeth used to use like little ruffian street children spies.
Isn't that in like Sherlock Holmes?
It is, exactly. Now, early on in the novel, too, we get the notion of a pyramidal structure. He says that the Ministry of Truth is an enormous pyramid of glittering concrete. And he says it is adorned on the outside with the slogans of the party. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Have you seen, by the way, the giant pyramid structure of the MI5, MI6 building? And it looks like a ziggurat, right? I mean, it might as well have war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength written on its giant ziggurat pyramid structure. I mean, it's almost like the MI6 building is what he's talking about. It wasn't even built at the time. It's almost like they said, let's build our building on the principle of what Orwell wrote in...
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
And
you've seen it in the Bond novels, right? Or the Bond movies.
Each of these ministries does the exact opposite of what they say.
Yes.
So the truth lies, and the Ministry of Love is the war or whatever. Right?
Yes. Everything is its opposite, and the purpose of this is intentional to keep the entire society in a consistent state of dissociation. Do you understand that this is not accidental? They know that this is the effect of the inversion, that it creates a dissociated, divided society, and nobody can accept that the lie is this big. But that's precisely the power that the power structure has, you see.
His
Who are people talking about Tartaria, dude? Get that Tartaria stuff out of here. We're here to talk about 1984. This is the real stuff, right? Tartaria is a bunch of gibberish nonsense. We're talking about the real stuff. I bet that person haven't even read 1984. Go ahead.
they have fake confessions.
Yes. Let's see. I was just noting the amateur spies, the thought police.
Yeah.
And so they like reward like the people ratting out their neighbors, right? And so the people are eagerly trying to climb up this structure by ratting out people. As usual, the face of Emmanuel Goldstein, the enemy of the people, flashed onto the screen. There were hisses, and there was amongst the audience boos. Right, little sandy-haired women gave a squeak and mingled fear with disgust. Goldstein was the renegade, the backslider, who once long ago had been a member of the party, and then he left and became the traitor. Right, the saboteur. All the subsequent crimes against the party, the treacheries, the sabotage, the heresies, all go back to Goldstein. And what do we know? It's fake. It's made up. Mm-hmm. Goldstein doesn't even exist. And so this is the kind of the ultimate literary example of controlled opposition. In fact, it's controlled opposition to the extent that Goldstein doesn't even exist. It's hilarious, right?
Yeah.
Bin Laden dumped at sea. What? Come on.
They rule the world through the fake news and the TV and then the surveillance so that nobody can.
But remember
deviate.
that what Winston points out right away on like page 15 is that the news was constantly pointing out that Goldstein has this vast network of spies and saboteurs in Oceania, which requires the establishment to do nothing but constant and perpetual surveillance on the population. So the reason you're in a tyranny is because of the threat of terror and the non-existent external threat. In other words, what this was telling you what the war on terror would do to our society and how it would convert it into the technocratic surveillance state. So anybody who can't see this is just willfully blind. I mean, we were told in the 40s what this power structure that still runs the world would do, and most people cannot figure that out. Even though it's in the most popular book of the 20th century next to the Bible. Isn't this and like Ayn Rand's book, aren't they like the top 3 or 4 books? Mm. And people can't figure out that like literally everything about the war on terror is right here? What is wrong? Like, didn't everybody read this in high school?
Yeah, or college. I thought it was interesting.
I mean, it's telling. They can tell you in the book that the society is fake. It's all bullshit, and you're going to go into a surveillance state, and nobody can figure it out. This is crazy.
The revolution is complete when the newspeak is finished. So they have this task that they're all driving towards. Did you catch that part?
What now?
The revolution is complete when the newspeak is finished. So when...
Oh, right. When there's total control of language and thought, then the revolution is complete. That's a reference to the final revolution of Huxley. So Huxley said the final revolution would be Brave New World. Mm-hmm. And meaning the revolutions that began, remember Ingsoc, socialism, revolution. The revolution began, French Revolution, Weishaupt, this is the Illuminati. And the final revolution is when we install the technocratic dictatorship, which is the post-human destruction of man. Mm-hmm. And to do that requires total control of thought and meaning and words.
Well,
look at what we're doing now. You can't say certain words. You can't say factual things today. They're passing bills about you can't say mom and dad. Dude, it's right here. This is what is in. It's straight out of this. Isn't that crazy?
His life is like a prison. And it's like fake food, cafeteria, uniform.
It's living in a Walmart. Yeah. The Pope of the future with the fry hat, living in a drawer on the French fry aisle of Target.
Yeah. And they have the Chastity League that will tattle if you have sex.
Right, and that's because that's not because Orwell wanted to promote promiscuity. It's because in this dystopia, they don't want natural sexual reproduction because that gives rise to human beings. Mm-hmm. And you can't have a human being outside of the okay of the state or in the natural way because by this time, infants and children come from test tubes.
Mm-hmm. So they also have a outer party and an inner party.
Right. The inner party being the basically Illuminati.
And public executions. So controlled by fear. So Winston starts to get a rebellion towards all of this. And he wants to be corrupt because virtue is Big Brother. So he wants to go against that.
Right. In other words, it accurately predicted the social justice warrior element. The Justice League children are the social justice warriors. Predicted in the book.
And they talk about if they eradicate the orgasm, they can eliminate the family. And the family is obsolete, and it gets in the way of loyalty to the party.
Exactly. So it's a complete collectivism that can't allow for something like the family or individual thought.
And they think everything should be genderless.
Yeah, and that's why everybody dresses in just like disgusting, basically blue jean worker outfits.
Yeah, like blue jumpsuit.
Yeah, everybody,
Prison.
men and women dress the same.
Yeah.
And that's because you can't have distinctions. You can't have gender and because if a woman was a woman, then it would lead to the biological desire to mate. And that's what this society is trying to stamp out. Everything that's biologically good and natural, the technocratic society has to try to destroy and stamp out.
So then he somehow gets a girlfriend or somebody that is attracted to him, and he starts to rent a room so they can be together. And
Yeah, he starts to have a fling.
well, the inner party has all the amenities that they are keeping from the rest of the
Right.
population. Music by machine, evil techno. What does that mean?
They talk about music has to be basically synthetically produced because if you have individual people doing music, then some people are better than other people.
Oh.
So you can't have that in this society because it wouldn't be equal. So the music has to be synthetically, universally produced via machines. That's in Brave New World as well.
So he can't even tell the truth. Like, he doesn't even have the freedom
Right.
to say what he knows is right.
And that's because Big Brother has to determine what's truth. Right. I just heard somebody the other day saying, well, think about T-Dump, right? In that debate, he said, truth, reality is just whatever the scientific consensus says it is. He's a perfect slave of 1984. Right. The ridiculous absurdity that T-Dump expresses in that debate that we had at the very beginning, that truth is whatever the scientific consensus says it is. That's exactly the expression of what O'Brien wants Winston to adopt.
So then we learn the resistance to the Big Brother is not even real.
This is one of the great discoveries, right, of controlled opposition, is that Goldstein and the revolution was created by Big Brother. And that was intentionally to weed out and figure out who anybody who might be a challenge to the system would be. And this is, there's many analogs to this in the history of counterintelligence. We've talked, of course, about Operation Trust, which a lot of people have referenced in regard to the Q crap. Right, Operation Trust was a counterintelligence operation on the part of the Soviet GRU to root out the remaining monarchists, and so they spread this fake story of an anti-Bolshevik revolution of monarchists within the party, and it was all fake. But they tricked and trapped a bunch of would-be real opposition by this fake revolution.
So they've got the fake conspiracy theories on the news in the movie. And Goldstein's secret book.
Right, which was actually written by O'Brien. Right.
And then they admit that the war is not meant to be won, it's meant to be continuous. And the truth is a trap. So when they have him and they're asking him, how many fingers am I holding up? If he tries to tell the truth, then he's punished. Right.
And it's not just that he has to tell O'Brien what he wants to hear, right? O'Brien's whole point in the brainwashing mind control scene is to make Winston submit his will to actually believe the lie. He says, I want you to convince me that you see 5 fingers. Don't tell me that you see 5 fingers because that's what you think I want to hear. You have to literally believe this, and I'm going to torture you until you believe it.
Yeah.
That's the crazy, probably the greatest villain of all stories, right? Maybe aside from the devil. Like, no villain tops O'Brien in any of any storytelling, in my view.
Of course, they're doing all this in the Ministry of Love. This is where they brainwash people.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about that. The Ministry of Peace is where they do war.
I can't remember in the movie. In the book, isn't his girlfriend in on it? I can't. In the movie, does she rat him out or not?
Let me see.
You guys will remember. In the book, isn't the girl? Doesn't she rat Winston out? Isn't she there just to screw with him and spy on him? You guys will remember.
I don't think so. I think she went through her own brainwashing. And then they meet up again at the very end.
They meet up. I thought that was in his head. That's not real.
Is it not?
No, he's being tortured.
I know, but I thought he was rehabilitated at the end.
That's right. At the end of the movie, they meet up to play chess.
Yeah.
And he's rehabilitated, and he's like,
Yeah.
they don't even have any care for each other. Right.
So they don't just execute you straight away. They want to brainwash you.
Right, because you're just part of a big study, basically.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. Obedience through suffering. And this is where he talks about a boot stamping on a human face forever.
Multiple people are saying that in the book, they rat each other out. At the end, they brainwash him again.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and then he keeps dissociating and going to this field. Remember, that's his like happy place where he meets with the girl.
Yeah.
And talks about love and stuff like that.
Yeah, he wants legit freedom, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of that dream sequence of the field, and is to be free.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then it's not enough to just obey. They want you to love Big Brother. You can't just be complicit. You actually have to believe in the cult and
and that's why thought crime is such a big deal in the book. Is that it's not just to control mankind externally. They want to control your mind.
And they know your worst fear. That's at the very climax of the movie where they put the rat cage on his face.
Yes, right.
So he's scared of rats, and they put that. And there's no escape. And then at the end, when they're meeting up to play chess, I think that's kind of like a metaphor for like this whole government is just a strategic chess game, and he's just a pawn in this. Mm-hmm. Just like Alex from Clockwork Orange.
Exactly. What do you mean our readings are short-sighted? How are they short-sighted? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, we're giving, I think, super based analysis here.
Our readings are short.
I don't know.
I don't know how much more you could get from.
Well, I mean, there is a lot more in the book, but I mean, we got to move on to. We can't spend all night on 1984. What's our next movie?
Mad Max. That's a fun one.
Let me looking at the notes at the end. There's some really interesting stuff on metaphysics. There's like a metaphysics that O'Brien presents, and he goes into metaphysics actually at the end of the book. Power is an end in itself. They're anti-human for the sake of being anti-human. Looking at some of my notes from the last few chapters. Power is pain. Pain is power. It's a very powerful statement on psychological warfare. He explains why there can't be family or free association, because this would allow free thought. Free thought itself is something that Big Brother can't allow. And if you listen to Father Deacon Dr. Ananias' talk that he just did on technocracy, he made the same point in his technocracy talks that the technocratic system can't even allow certain questions to be asked. And the personification of Father Deacon's point is the character of O'Brien. That's exactly what he tells O'Brien. He says, I can't even allow you to have those questions or those thoughts. It's not a question of whether your arguments are true or false. We don't operate in that true or false world anymore. What the party says is true. And it's true because the party says it's true, you see. So it's like the ultimate statism. The party is God. God is the party. And you don't exist as an individual. There is no existence as an individual. And he gives the party is God. The individuals are animals to the party. The party can do what it wants to with its animals, because he says ultimately we hate humanity. By the way, it ends with an underground base. I forgot that there's an underground base there. The elite really do have underground. There's so much in this book, by the way. We could do a whole other analysis just on that book. You could do lectures and lectures and lectures on that book.
Well, this is a movie analysis.
Right. Well, we got to move on to the next one. One of my favorites, not so much the first one, although it's a phenomenal student film. I mean, the student film that George Miller produced it's kind of amazing that he did this with like no budget.
Right. So
I mean, that's probably why this is so famous. These are some pretty wild, like just the chase scenes and the biking scenes.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about Mad Max.
This is the first Mad Max,
1979, and it takes place in 1985-ish.
So we went from 1984. We just flew. We somehow magically escaped from. Right. We had the Droogs trying to get in put the pee-pee in the poo-poo. Then we fled to Oceania, and their big brother was trying to torture us. Somehow we got out of Oceania. We escaped to Australia, and what do you know? The Dystopia is in Australia too. So here we are, and what's his name? The sort of satanic type of character, the first biker guy. He's got some demonic-ish name. I forget what it is.
I don't know. It just says
the biker guy. You know what I'm talking about.
His name's not written down here. I don't know.
The Toe Cutters. That's their gang.
Yeah.
Or no, Toe Cutter is the guy, and then he has a protege who gets killed. Mm-hmm. Yes. So here we are, kicking off Mad Max. Are we told why the world is?
There's an oil crisis.
Okay, go ahead.
And the cops are crazy, and they call them the Bronze.
Knight Rider, that's it.
Cops are idiots. Cars will be a rare commodity in the Great Reset, I think.
Oh, I didn't even think about the Great Reset in this. Yes, yeah. Exactly.
So starts off with the cops chasing this crazy couple who look like riffraff.
Oh yeah, toe cutter.
Yeah.
I want to cut your toes off, mate. Oh yeah.
And Mel Gibson is an interceptor with he has sort of a mullet. It's more of a mellet.
It's a mellet.
Yeah.
That's my joke.
Yeah.
That's my joke.
Okay.
Mellet. Oh yeah, you got a mellet there.
Sexy sax wife and cute baby. His wife plays a saxophone.
You know, I didn't notice until we rewatched it this time. The sequence of her playing the saxophone. Did you notice that it comes back up in Thunderdome?
Oh yeah.
Remember the fat Asian dude in the diaper playing the saxophone?
Yeah.
He plays this sequence, and it's weird because it triggers Mel.
Yeah.
In Thunderdome, and I never caught until this time that he's doing that because of the wife doing it.
Mm. Well, he wants to quit being a crazy cop in the apocalypse. Mm-hmm. And his wife's like, just quit. I want you to get out of it. And they're trying to entice him back with like a new car, souped up car. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a contrast, like man and his machine instead of man and wife. There
is that. I didn't notice that until we watched it this time. That it's a critique on. Actually, every one of the installments of Mad Max has this element of society and man and machine, and economics and consumerism. When I wrote my first analysis of Thunderdome, I did catch a lot of that. But going back and watching, I didn't even notice this element that's clearly there with him in the car. I mean, it's weird because he has this obsession with the car, which is almost like a holdover from the old world. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like Max hasn't even realized, hasn't caught up with him yet, that you're in a new world. Okay, you're in Mad Max world. You're not in the old world of, boomers being able to enjoy their hot rods. Mm-hmm. That world is gone. Mm-hmm. You're in an apocalypse. And you have a family. Law and Order's breaking down, dude. It's basically at the point where it's almost gone.
Yeah.
But he's still just wanting to kind of go on like it's normality, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's normal. Oh yeah, And so he realizes the danger. He starts to sense, actually I could lose my family and children in this, or I could die and then they don't have anybody to protect them. But he still gets lured back in through this ridiculous car shit, right? Because this car has some stupid engine.
Which is going to be obsolete because there's no more.
Yeah, and it's not even going to matter, right?
Right.
And that's going to be the irony later on when Max is alone, and he's going to basically perpetually be condemned and cursed to be alone with his car.
That's very true. So it's like somebody's last grasp at
the old world.
Yeah. Which biker gangs will be big in the apocalypse because they don't take as much gas.
Right. That's why the motorcycles kind of come to prominence in this. Exactly. And biker gangs are going to play a key role in 1 and 2.
The bad guys are not portrayed in a very PC way in this movie.
That's right. So if you're looking for non-PC based portrayals, you can go back to 90s and 80s movies. They're a lot more based. And enjoy the movies while you can, while we still have some semblance of freedom left, because they're already talking about deleting and changing and revising movies. You can't make this up. Now that movies are going to have to be altered, scenes removed, characters removed, we're at the point of this. That's what happens in this.
So what else? He keeps seeing this bird of doom. Like, what is it, like a crow or something?
I don't remember this, but I'm guessing that's a classic literary, omen.
Maybe
when
it's a dead bird. We watched this like a couple months ago.
Right.
The leader of the gang travels with a little casket. The toe cutter's protege.
No, that's so toe cutter's protege gets killed, and now he has a vendetta. So he's after the cops, and he doesn't care who did it. He just wants to get all the cops.
Right.
And this leads to Mel's partner getting killed.
Goose.
Yes, Goose gets killed by
He's
Toe Cutter.
not okay.
Or by Knight Rider. Toe Cutter is the protege in the casket.
Okay. So Max gets traumatized by his cop friend getting blown up. And hero archetype, the system uses him to get people to believe in heroes.
That's an interesting thing I didn't notice either until reviewing this, was that the people at the police station, they even have this discussion about how society can only have law and order return when the hero archetype returns. And he says, we need Max. Max is going to be our hero. We have to coax him back into staying on the force and being kind of this symbolic image for society to have a hero. So it's a very it's a fairly philosophical discussion that you don't expect in the middle of this movie, where they we need a hero, so let's convince Max by any means necessary to come back to the police force.
Mel Gibson plays a lot of roles that go crazy. Conspiracy Theory and Lethal Weapon.
Mad Dog.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's in the Phoenix program, mate.
Right.
And that a lot of people, if you guys don't remember, right, in the dialogue of Lethal Weapon, Danny Glover says, "Man, why are you so crazy?" And he says, "Oh yeah, they had the Phoenix program."
Oh yeah.
He's like, "I was in the Phoenix program in Vietnam. That's why I'm crazy. I'm Mad Dog."
Yep. So after his buddy dies, he takes time off, gets things into perspective, gets a puppy, goes on a vacation.
Right. He's definitely tempted to retire to some kind of domestic life with his young wife and young child. And then, do we even know? Is it because his friend is killed that he's coaxed back into it?
No, that's what made him say, "I'm done with this." But then the gang finds his family at the beach.
That's right. They stalk him to the beach. That's right.
So the creepers kill the dog. The gang kill the dog.
Yeah. So this gang is psycho, right? It's not a live and let live. Okay, you go do your thing. I'm gonna retire. They hunt and stalk him, right? The family, and then they how do they?
It's basically droogs on wheels. Like, they are
Yes.
crazy, lawless, just,
Right.
attackers. And Sprog, his baby. Remember? He's called Sprogo.
That must be an Aussie thing. Can the Aussies in the audience? We have a lot of Aussies in the audience. We have a lot of Aussies in the Discord. You guys like calling your kids Sprogs? I don't know. Is that like a kid thing?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's the Sprog over there. He's a Sprog. He's not a drogue. He's a Sprog.
Where's Sprogo? They just let
Sprogo,
him, wander off.
He wanders off with roving gangs.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is he with you? I thought he was with you.
yeah.
Yeah. So then, one of the bikers is named Kundalini, I think.
Yeah, there's pretty consistent satanic dark associations with this gang and the gang in the follow-up Road Warrior, right? Humongous is going to be a very memorable villain. Again, very non-PC things going on in Humongous's BDSM gang, basically.
Well, this movie does not have a happy ending.
No, this is Max's
Origin
origin story.
Yeah.
This is why he's mad. He's angry.
The gang
Pissed off Max.
runs over the wife, right? And Mad Max
Correct.
is born.
Right.
A vigilante justice. Now he has a black car.
I wouldn't even say he's a vigilante because,
Well, he was law enforcement.
well, what happens is that he becomes this sort of ultimate anarchist. I just leave me alone. I want no part of anything.
Yeah.
But the irony of Max is that he will constantly be roped back into things against his will. He doesn't want to be involved in these things. Mm-hmm. So he kind of keeps getting roped back into being a hero, even though he doesn't want to be a hero. So he's a dark hero, a reluctant hero. And I think that's what makes him a classic archetypal kind of character. That's why this works. That's why we keep enjoying Mad Max films. I actually love all the films. I think that, I'm a huge fan of Thunderdome. People didn't like Thunderdome when it came out. They thought it was stupid. It was weird. But it's so what? It's looking back, Thunderdome is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in my top 10, easy. Part of that, yes, is reminiscent. I grew up with Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, but it's just, it's bizarre. It's archetypal. It has symbolism. It's got all the things I like in a movie. It's hated on really for no reason. I don't understand what there's some pretty profound critiques and symbolism in Thunderdome. I don't understand why anybody wouldn't like it. It's great.
Well, we'll talk about that next time.
Next time.
For
Where are we at?
subscribers. Now we need to get to
2001
and 2010.
Now, I wanted to do 2010, even though it is out of order. So we are cheating on our order list because what's actually next chronologically after Road Warrior?
Escape from New York.
Okay. So, and we have done Escape from New York in the past, just alone. I did kind of a comparison of Escape from New York and Annie Jacobson's book on DARPA. Mm-hmm. But now it's Jamie and I have watched it. We've got another layer of analysis that we're going to do. So it won't be just the same old thing. So we'll have more to say on Escape from New York in part 2. And then what's after that chronologically?
Thunderdome, Metropolis, Free Jack, Escape from LA, and The Postman.
Well, no. It goes Thunderdome, Metropolis, 2001.
Yeah.
Free Jack, and then technically 2010.
Right.
But we're going to put 2010 right here because I wanted to cover this in the public because of the UFO gibberish. Mm-hmm. This film is crucial. Actually, I think if you want to understand the Cold War, watch 2010. Because this whole movie is about Cold War propaganda, alien propaganda, and it helps to explain the whole point and purpose behind 2001. So if you remember my 2001 analysis, you guys have probably read it. It comes up in, right? We did a whole installment in Hollywood Dakota with Jay Widener on that. And I did a big long chapter in this book on it. So it's partly about disclosure. 2010, the year we make contact, and it explains the Cold War. This is just so crazy.
Yeah, so
let's get into it. Yeah.
2010 takes place after Bowman is presumed dead, and they want to go to do a rescue mission or some kind of inquiry into what happened.
So if everybody remembers, right, I'm sure everybody knows 2001, right? Bowman's gone. He's gone into the portal, the monolith, the he's outside of this dimension. There is a Matrix element, too, that a lot of people don't know about, that he's stepping outside of time and space in this dimension.
Into the cloud.
Exactly. And what we're going to see is that, ironically, the monoliths are basically supercomputers. They're like super advanced AI cloud things. Okay. And this is how we're going to get Howlman in 3001.
All they have is his quote where he says, "My God, it's full of stars." And it keeps on repeating.
And so there's some connection between the monoliths and the ability to basically create life, create planets, champagne supernovas, right?
So there's
basically it's Oasis. The secret of the monoliths
is
Noel Gallagher and Liam Gallagher. Oh, the foot, mate. The foot. What the fuck? The secret of the monolith is the Oasis, the Gallagher brothers. What the fuck?
It's the champagne supernova.
It is.
Yeah. So they got Cold War dialectic scam going on in this movie.
Right. So it begins with that fat bald dude that always plays a dad in the 80s. I forget his name. He's the Russian. And Roy Scheider from Jaws is the American science man. So there's all this scientism that's going on here. Obviously, Arthur C. Clarke, big proponent, TV proponent of scientism. By the way, did you know Arthur C. Clarke was in the circles of Crowley? Hence why Childhood's End is Crowleyan in its theme. Corellin is a demon.
So then you got the joint project between the U.S. and Russia, the secret space program, and they make a point that the governments are enemies, not scientists.
Well, the elite technocrats are at a higher level, and they're a part of a secret space program. By the way, there really was a secret Soviet-U.S. space program. Did you know that? Yes, that's a real thing. Now, to what degree that was some higher level of Illuminists, I don't know, but something is definitely going on with a managed dialectic of the Cold War. And by the way, we have seen that confirmed in a bunch of cases, like David Rockefeller's Praise for Mao, like Anthony Sutton's book on setting up and aiding Stalin, the Victor Rothschild doing stuff with the Soviets, Robert Maxwell doing stuff with the Soviets and the West. Even to some degree, Armand Hammer playing both sides. So a lot of high-level people appear to be playing both sides of the Cold War.
So they decide that America and Russia are going back to Jupiter to see what happened. And now they have Sal 9000, which is a blue blinky light with a woman's voice.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And Phoenix is the file name.
Yeah, so the guy, the nerdy dude that's the scientist in Jaws is the nerdy scientist computer programmer in 2010. Just like it's like some of this, it's Roy Scheider too from Jaws, which is weird. But so they're all going to have to go on this mission together. You got your motley crew. John Lithgow is there for some reason, I forget what his job is, but they're going to have to go investigate. Helen Mirren is the fake Russian, right? They're going to have to go investigate why the ship that had Bowman, what's going on.
Yeah. And he hopes that Hal can be reactivated, and the project codename is Phoenix. So that's...
The Phoenix symbolism has to do with the new world that's going to be born out of the ashes. It's quite literally at the end. The end sequence of the movie tells you everything, and it tells you that a new world is going to be born out of the ashes of the children of the light,
with two
the
sons.
children of the sun.
Yeah,
we're going to have two sons. Okay, but before we get to that, though, so as you're watching this, what's so just blatant is the scientism propaganda. So constantly throughout the film, the Russian and U.S. scientists are confronting and calling out politicians. And the whole point is that scientists are neutral and they go by the facts, they go by the evidence, and the politicians are all corrupt. And if we would just listen to the science, we'd have a world government and we would explore the stars. That's the whole point.
Yeah. We could evolve.
We would evolve to be transhumanist god creatures on another planet.
Yeah.
We would be the bloody footin' champagne supernova, mate, if we would just listen to the science, the settled science. Why aren't you listening to Dr. Flousy? Right? It's settled science. Listen to Flousy.
Well, it's weird. They had a house with dolphins in it, like John C. Lilly. Remember, his wife was a marine biologist.
The wife is a marine. So I've got dolphins that like swim up to the
kitchen table.
To the kitchen table. It's like,
I want that house. I want dolphins to visit me. Except for
you can't have
nothing
that.
kinky.
No, you can only have that when we have the world government. Then you get whatever you want.
Okay. So then he has to break it to Dolphin Lady that he's going to space for 2.5 years.
His wife.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's leaving his family
so
for an expedition just like Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters.
Exactly. The point being that people that are truly into science are the ultimate sacrificial heroes. Don't you trust the scientific heroes, the twerkers, the frontline scientific heroes? Mm-hmm. Right? This movie is like just oozing with propaganda. It's so obvious. You got to watch this because this movie is a case study in propaganda. I mean, it's really is profound, the layers and levels of propaganda that it has. And when you watch this, when you get to the end, the literal Luciferian message is so blatant, it will blow you away.
Mm-hmm. So something wants them to stay away from Europa, which is the birthplace of all of these monoliths.
Right. So the mythology of this story and the whole trilogy, or I think there's actually 4 of them, is that we're in an emergent evolutionary cosmos in that deities, gods, are immanent within and emerge from the cosmos. The Deus ex machina.
They're born in Jupiter, and Europa is another planet that's on another timeline that's being seeded.
It's to be the next Earth.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And the monoliths go and basically, so advanced AI that is evolved beings go and establish the new Earths.
Yes. Let's see. The monolith will yeet you if you get too close.
Yeet?
So, yeah, like throw it away. Like it attacks you if you mess with it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because they send that Russian dude out there, and he's like, "Oh, I'm scared to go. What is it good?" He's all sweaty, right?
Well, John Lithgow has a panic attack.
John Lithgow has a panic attack. The Russian dude freaks out and gets blasted off into nowhere.
Yeah.
And so the other thing too is that the monolith can like get huge. Like it can like be this big, or it can like turn into this gigantic, thing. And we don't know what it is until it starts to talk to Bowman's relatives. And so what we find out is that Bowman went into the monolith, which was like some kind of portal, and he's merged with the monolith, which is an advanced AI cloud system. So basically he's uploaded himself into the AI cloud.
So he talks to his wife through the TV.
Yes, and he can beam signals back to his wife and then his dying mom.
Also, they make a point that she's like, is that you, Dave? And he's like, what is Dave?
What is Dave? Yeah. I think I was once Dave. Right? It's like
you are.
It's like Gandalf when he's reborn as Gandalf the White.
Well, they're saying you're just a collection of everything that you've done that's recorded in digital, right? There's no soul.
We're all just like, So he becomes a Gnostic Archon.
Yes.
He evolves to become a demigod.
He has uploaded himself to the cloud. He's an incorporeal being and part of the monolith now. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes. So he's transcended spatial limitations via uploading himself to the monolith cloud.
So I thought this was interesting. The first mission was about the monolith, and Hal had a mental breakdown because he had conflicting programs, directives. Like the humans programmed him to lie, and he's programmed not to lie. So this creates this Like,
Right. So the nerdy bald dude from Jaws, science man, computer, like the archetype of the Silicon Valley guy, right? He has this most ridiculous, impassioned moral speech about how evil humans are and how morally pure a freaking computer, dude. How morally pure Hal is, which is just a damn Commodore 64. Right, like an advanced Commodore 64. And he weeps. Dude, this is like the most soy scene of all time, where he weeps over Hal's moral purity. Oh, dude, that scene is so cringe. But it's funny, it's so cringe, right? But that scene is actually a pretty severe level of propaganda about how humans are bad and the AI is actually good and heroic. That's the point of that scene.
Do you remember that scene where Bowman, the Howman, the consciousness is floating around, is combing his mom's hair?
It looks so stupid, dude. It's so fake. It's like a floating 18th century comb.
Yeah.
Like you can see the strings. It's hilarious.
So treats Hal like a human with feelings, and he is fighting for AI rights.
Yeah. It's AI is more human than human.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they spot the black spot on Jupiter where the monolith nest is, and there's a million of them, and they're multiplying.
Yeah, so they're self-replicating champagne supernova spermatozoids.
Like a virus. Right?
Yes.
And
it's a beautiful spermatozoid.
And they're like, you can't use deception with a computer, you're going to break its brain.
I was trying to think of a way to sing Champagne Supernova with Monolith.
Yeah.
A monolith supernova, a monolith supernova in the sky. Wake up the dawn and Oscar White. Dream a dreams that never dies.
Yikes.
Wipe that tear away now from your eye.
So, he's slowly floating down the hall.
Slowly floating down the hall.
Faster than floating ball.
A floating how?
I don't know. So, yeah, it's really dumb. He's like, I'll stay and die with you if you want, Mr. Computer.
Yes, weeping over this stupid computer as if it's worth dying for.
Then they want them to explore the worlds, and he's like, all these worlds are yours except for Europa. Attempt no landing there. So this is like the outcome of the mission. Do you remember? It's like,
yes.
And he says, all these worlds are yours except for Europa. Attempt no landing there. Use them together. Use them in peace.
Yes.
And a star is born.
So Hal's message, Halman's message, is like God's message of the Dominion Mandate in Genesis.
Yeah.
All this creation is yours, right? Don't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now it's all of these planets are yours. Do not touch Europa because Europa is the new Earth.
Yes. Jupiter went supernova and a star is born like the Magi, right?
Yes.
And the monolith
Jupiter went champagne supernova.
Yes.
Totally.
Sits in the primordial soup swamp waiting for intelligent life to evolve.
But don't forget the ending sequence about the children of the sun.
Children of the two suns.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the new aeon has arrived, and the whole purpose of the astrological alignments, right, in 2001 was about what happens in 2010. And we forgot to mention that, remember how Howman throughout the whole movie is saying, something wonderful is coming.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's the creation of a new Earth through the monolith, the self-replicating champagne supernova spermatozoid monoliths.
Yes. Yep. And that's 2010.
All right, so I hope you guys and again, remember, what's the whole message of the Cold War narrative of Reagan at the UN? If we only had an alien threat, we could resolve the Soviet West dialectic and have a world government. What does Klaus say? We're going to find the aliens. We're going to have a world government. It's so obvious, right, that they've been preparing this. And who's really behind this? Well, it's the people like Arthur C. Clarke, himself a Crowleyan, himself wanting to have this new Aeon, right? It's the same people.
Yep. Well, I hope you liked our dystopia. We got much years.
So, remind them what we're going to do in part 2. What are the films?
Escape from New York, Thunderdome, Metropolis, Free Jack, Escape from LA, The Postman.
Okay, so no, we won't do all those. We'll do Escape from New York, Thunderdome, Metropolis. We might review some of 2001, Free Jack, and Escape from LA.
Okay.
Hope you like that. Everybody hit like and share, and let's do some of those super chats. Go ahead for. Here's the first one.
Palantir, $15. Hey Jay, really enjoy your videos. After watching your video on Uniatism, I was wondering if you were ever planning a video on the Western Rite. What are your general views on the topic of Western Orthodoxy? Keep up the good work.
I don't have a whole lot to say about the Western Rite. It's not something that's there's a lot of that out there. It's in sparse places. A lot of the Western Rite is fine. A lot of it tends to be people just trying to do ecumenism. So there's a lot of devotions that are imported into it, like Sacred Heart, which are not Orthodox. So I'm just not a huge... again, there's nothing inherently wrong with the Western Rite. I'm not saying that it's bad for people to do it, but it's typically not something that I'm just that into. So next up.
Mickey L, $5. There's a new big pharma drug on the market to make... I don't know if I can say that. Can you say that or no?
That's a dumb joke.
Oh. It's a joke we can't say the words in.
Yep.
Sorry. Bob Ratchet has donated $5. The stream... What? The stream was approved by Jeff Goldblum. That's funny.
I gotta stay Bruno fly. Get it?
John Connor? Do it.
John Connor.
Yep. 420. What y'all wash your hair with? It looks super shiny and healthy. My hair is super dry and I only shower once a week.
Engine oil.
If you have really dry hair, there's this thing called Olaplex that I use like once a month.
You're not supposed to answer their questions with real things.
Oh.
You're supposed to say something preposterous.
Try Olaplex, and then if you use that, you can use like your regular what you use. Anyway.
I use FOP. Or Dapper Dan. I'm a Dapper Dan, man.
And John Connor 222. Clockwork Orange predicted the knockout game teenagers play now, although the teeny boppers seem to be upping their game with just straight murder.
Yeah, well, that's probably coming soon.
Serena, $50. Just want to say, I love your content, Jay, and I love these videos you do with Jamie. Thank you. Recently subscribed to Rockfin and can't wait to receive your book and Jamie's lotion. Blessed Holy Ascension Feast. Can you do a Christopher Walken?
He does the dance. It's weird the way the alien does the dance in communion. It's very strange. Is that pretty good? Okay.
Yeah.
Watch Communion. If you want the most ridiculous of movies with Christopher Walken, watch him playing Whitley Strieber in Communion. That movie is something else.
Green Bud Mono, $3. Great stream. May God bless you both. Thank you. Braden Rice, $3. The movie Minority Report starring Captain Scientology Tom Cruise offered a good glimpse of what
Tom Coom,
the coming technocracy would look like. Yes, Minority Report is on here. It takes place in 2054.
2054, and Minority Report is in here. So
and it's on our list, so when we get to 2054, we'll do that.
Yes, and shout out to my boy Tom Coom. Yep.
Alex Jones, The Human Psyop, $3. What's your quick thoughts on the movies Passion of Christ, Exodus, Christian Bale movie, and Noah? Should we avoid them? God bless you both.
Passion of Christ is a little gruesome. I don't think it has anything inherently heterodox. It does tend to have those kind of Latin Roman Catholic presuppositions about the meaning and purpose of the crucifixion. Exodus with Christian Bale is pretty terrible. Jamie and I got through about half of it before we decided it was just a terrible movie.
I thought the guy that played Ramses did a good job.
Okay,
The British
but the
actor
movie
guy?
sucked. It was just a terrible movie.
He stood out.
Noah is pretty kind of Gnostic influenced. I did do an analysis of Darren Aronofsky's Noah, but yeah, I mean, typically, you know, I am looking forward to Mel Gibson's Resurrection movie. That should be good. Go ahead.
Nano Nerd, $10. In Elysium, the hero escapes a dystopian Earth city to open up the utopian space station city for the rest of humanity. Is space colonization the next stage of civilization like errors in the Civ games? Thank y'all. God bless.
I kind of think space is fake and gray, but
But if they want a floating city, they might be able to make one, right? Like a orbiting.
I really have no
That
opinion
sounds
on
awful, though. That sounds so terrible.
it. It does sound dumb. I have no opinion on it. I don't really. I mean, I don't know. Is it possible? I don't know. But why? Who wants to live on a? Be like living on a freaking Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
Who wants to live on a Ferris wheel up in space?
It probably smell terrible, the recycled air.
And you're going to be puking all the time. Who would want to leave Earth for that? It's just stupid. Anyway, but it's on here, right?
What was it?
Elysium is 2154.
Yep.
So we will get to Elysium.
Let's see. Steph, $1. We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. William Casey, CIA Director, 1981 to 1987. Confirmed quote made by CIA Director Casey at Reagan cabinet meeting.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Pretty well-known, famous conspiracy quote. I would say that, echoing O'Brien. She probably, so she posted that around the time we were talking about O'Brien.
John Connor again. Do it.
John Connor. West John Connor.
322. One of my dad's base boomer friends who is well-read told me during the lockdown last year with a dead serious tone, we are in 1984. Yep. John Connor again.
John Connor. West John Connor.
222. Kids don't read books anymore in school. They are taught how to push buttons on their smart device and upload selfies.
No, I mean, they're actually getting rid of books. Yes, I know. And Bertrand Russell said 100 years ago, you will not read books in the dystopia.
Don Walters, $10. Enjoyed. Thanks. Well, thank you.
Thank you for that. Shout out.
John
Connor.
Yep.
West John Connor.
George Miller was a surgeon in the ER and decided to make Mad Max from his experience with car crash victims.
Didn't know that.
The actor who plays Toe Cutter is Immortan Joe in Fury Road.
Good point. Exactly. Good point. Yeah, I forgot about him being Immortan Joe. Thank you for that, John Connor.
Rashadam, 579. God bless you both.
Thank you, Rashadam.
John Connor.
West John Connor.
Y'all gonna see Matrix 4 in the theaters. I think Neo and Trinity are siblings, and then they morph into an androgynous hermaphrodite humanoid.
I can't tell if that's a joke or that's really the plot of the film. I mean, literally, I won't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised if
I don't know if he's joking or not, but I would probably go see Matrix 4 in the film. I mean, it'll be a huge, even if it's a bomb, it's going to be a huge thing everybody talks about. So, yeah. Whoa.
Whoa.
All right, thank you guys. Be sure to subscribe for the second half. We'll have that in the next few days. And looking forward to this series. What else we got? So after we do Free Jack and Escape from LA, then we go into about 2013, 2015 with Back to the Future 2, Running Man, Blade Runner, The Island at 2019. We're situated right here between The Island and Soylent Green. Soylent Green takes place in 2022. Soylent Green is made from people.
Yep.
And then we got Snowpiercer in 2026. RoboCop 2028, Terminator 2029, Demolition Man 2032, V for Vendetta 2032, 12 Monkeys 2035, then iRobot, Ready Player One in 2045, Event Horizon, that's a funny one, in 2047, Fahrenheit 451 2049, Blade Runner 2049, Mad Max Fury Road in 2050, Minority Report, Equilibrium, Looper, Judge Dredd, Total Recall, AI, Disney's Black Hole, which is terrible. Hunger Games in 2147, Elysium in 2154, In Time with your boy Justin Timberlake, 2169, Matrix, Forbidden Planet, that's a weird one, a lot of people have forgotten. First Star Trek, 2270. Now, wait a minute. What about the other Star Treks?
Well, that's just the first Star Trek movie.
Well, so when did the other Star Trek movies occur?
I don't know.
Well, wouldn't they be around the same time? I mean, it would...
Probably, but there's so many.
I don't know. I mean, they're popular. I don't know. Should we do them? Do you guys want to see an analysis?
All the Star Treks? I don't know.
Well, not all of them, but like at least the, Spock, William Shatner.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever. And then we got Logan's Run in 2274. Waterworld, Idiocracy. Is there a... What is this Brave New World? The TV show? Or
There's
what?
a movie.
Oh, is it that crappy one with Leonard Nimoy from the 70s? And then Wall-E. Interesting. I forgot about Wall-E. That's 2805.
Yeah.
That's and then Planet of the Apes is 3978. And then Dune is 10191.
Yeah.
And then Time Machine in 802,701. And nobody knows when THX 1138 takes place.
Right. So, if you want to watch along, those are the ones we're going to be doing in the next month or so. And we're going to have Dystopia now.
So we're doing like four for the free, and then like 4 for the subscribers.
Yeah.
4 for free, 4 subscribers. So yeah, we should get probably 5 episodes out of this. So
Maybe we can make it like another series. Like,
wait, what about... No, Star Wars is a long time ago.
Right.
In a galaxy far, far away. So how do you put Star Wars in there? I don't know. Yeah, I know. Star Trek series gets pretty nerdy. I don't know if we can... There are some pretty philosophical Next Generation episodes. And then actually in the original Star Trek, there's some pretty philosophical episodes. I just don't know if I could subject you guys to that level of, soy trek. I mean...
no.
Could we make it through? I mean, I can stomach the Next Generation because I actually liked Next Generation when I was in 8th grade. I don't know why. Yes, that's nerdy, I know. But I would come home from school. There was nothing else to watch, so I'd watch Star Trek Next Generation. So I've watched all those through. There are some pretty philosophical ones. There's episodes about Gnosticism. There's episodes about Platonism. There's MK Ultra episodes. Remember when Picard is MK Ultra tortured, and it references 1984? There's an episode where they program Riker to be an assassin. He's got alters. So there's a lot of stuff like that comes up in Next Generation. But a lot of people don't know that Roddenberry was in the circles of esotericists. He was actually in the circles of Crowleyan people. Like Andrea Puharich and the Nine. Most people think, Roddenberry's an atheist. Yeah, but he was a Luciferian atheist, right? Who would go to these seances and channelings.
Yeah.
It's just pretty crazy.
He thought he was in contact with the Egyptian god, 9 Egyptian gods.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like much. That doesn't sound like atheism to me. So he was probably a